how you can forecast the markets and make lots of money trading, even when the market behavior is changing and your trading approach stops working. The reason is that markets repeat. They do the same things over and over again, and even though it looks like it's changing now, it actually has done the same changing before. And you need to know where to look to find out the conditions which are presently happening in the market. And if you know where to look in the past, you can adapt your system to what has happened already, and then you'll be able to trade very accurately and very successfully because you know what's going to happen next. You can forecast. You can learn the tools. They're not hard. If you have the right knowledge, you can take this knowledge and turn it into money. And that right knowledge is not difficult to learn, but it's very rare. Here are some powerful examples of what we call step cycles, or cycles that repeat step by step, instead of simply indicating highs or lows one after the other. Sequential cycles are the norm these days, but they are just an elementary understanding of the potential power of cycles. Step cycles represent a more complete understanding. One of the most important cycles is the 60-year cycle. If you look back, it actually has been repeating fairly closely for the last 25 years. In other words, if you look at 1940 and you add 60, you get the year 2000. If you line up the 1940 market on top of the most recent 2000 stock market, Dow Jones market, you'll find that there's a 95% correlation going forward over the last 23 years, since 2000. So the low, for example, in 1949 lines up with the low in 2009. The market basically started up in 2009 and kept going, still going. And in 1949, you had a rally all the way to 1966, right? So that's one point. Here's an example of it the most recent few years. The most recent year is right here. You see how starting of April 13th of last year, of 2022, the 60-year cycle is overlaid, and you can see how beautiful the correspondence is and how it has been continuing to repeat step by step, even now. And if you go back a little bit further, the 18 months prior to April of 2022, you can see the overlay was remarkably good. It was 95% correlated over approximately 18 months prior to that date of April of 2022. In response to this, one of my students, who was already very experienced in understanding cycles, said he gained a broad overview of step cycles and finally understood why forecasting works. There's a 20-year cycle. This is a period repeating step by step. Amazingly, it's a 240-minute bar chart repeating intraday action 20 years earlier for a period of 3 full months. So you can see how the market went up and down, even intraday, very, very closely to what's happening now. Here's another example. And it's repeating, for over a year, it's repeating almost identically. Very, very high correlation, over 90%. These are all in the Dow Jones. You can find similar examples in any market. You can see them in the gold market. You can see them in the crude oil market. You can see them anywhere you want. In the currencies, whatever you trade, the cycles are there. And here's a comment from a fund manager I've worked with numerous times over the years on many markets, describing the uniqueness of this approach. What's useful is you need to have enough data, you need enough history in order to get the correlations accurate and to see that those things are reliable. But mostly we use macro data on international markets, which have a huge amount of data and precise data, tick data available so that you can really line things up. Here's an example of very, very recent market action on a 1-minute chart. 1 minute by 1 minute moving forward, and you can see how it lines up with a whole month ago. 28 days ago actually is repeating. It's a cycle. It's actually related to the lunar cycle. And it's repeating almost identically the whole day, okay? One of my recent students commented on the course we teach, basically appreciating how the course distilled complicated information and made it simple. That's always a goal we strive to achieve. This is the way nature works. This is the way, it's not even based upon the large players or how Morgan Stanley or any of these companies are buying and selling. They actually are playing into the mathematics somehow or other. There's some huge mathematical structure that's guiding the trends and guiding the future. And we are able, using this system, this knowledge, to locate what parts of history are repeating. And once you can find those parts, you project what they did going forward, and then there's a good chance that that is what will happen going forward into the future. And that's what allows a person to make a trade roadmap, and based upon the trade roadmap, to make a whole bunch of successful, profitable trades. When the market is behaving weirdly, and it's going into patterns that are not familiar, and you're feeling really uncertain about what to do, you're not quite sure how the volatility will be going forward. You're not quite sure where you can place a stop safely. You're not quite sure how to trail your stop once the market starts moving. You're tempted to jump out of trades too early. You've tried trading by gut instinct. Turns out sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. And if you're having a bad day and your gut is wrong, you lose a lot of money unnecessarily. And the talking heads on the television are giving you 14 different opinions, and you're completely unsure about what is actually real and what isn't. You're not sure if the volatility will increase and kick you out of the market. Even if you're on the right side of the market and you get out too early because you didn't have enough confidence to stay in, you don't capture the full trade. You don't capture the full profits. And then the losses happen and you hold on too long. And what happens is you end up losing. When you should lose a little, you lose a lot. And when you should win a lot, you win a little. How do you avoid that? Ultimately, it comes down to the same story. You need to be able to forecast. You need to be able to predict the future with some level of accuracy so that you're not fooled, you're not confused, you're not thrown off the track easily by market conditions which are varying and seemingly different than they were in the recent history. The reality is there's knowledge out there that you can use, that you can learn easily, you can digest quickly, you can apply sincerely and effectively, and improve your trading in literally several weeks of practice. What's the experience we want when we trade? Obviously, everybody wants to make money. I guess we would want, if we could, to never lose on any trade, to always make money 100% of the time on every trade. But reality is nobody does that. Even Gann, back in the 1900s, they measured what he did. He was 92% accurate when they measured it. So the reality is you're not going to win on every trade, but what you do want to do is trade with knowledge, trade with confidence. What we all want is to feel secure that we know what we're doing, that we're not listening to someone else, that we're not guessing all the time. We want to minimize the uncertainty and maximize the knowledge. The second thing we want is obviously stability and regularity, so that we can rely upon this, so we can become self-sufficient based upon this. We'd like, of course, to be able to generate money like an ATM machine. You place your trade, you put it in the right place, you put your stop in the right place, you wait for the trade to end, and you cash in on the profits. What you don't want is to get into a trade, be on the right side of the market, and get stopped down anyway, because you placed your stop in the wrong place. What you don't want is to be in a trade and you're winning and you're winning and you're winning and you get out early because of some mistaken thinking and the market continues to go and you clear $1,000 profit instead of a $20,000 profit. What you don't want is to have your moods and emotions be influenced by everyone else around you, by the television, by other people's opinions. It's very, very necessary to be self-sufficient when you trade. It's common knowledge out there, particularly on Wall Street, that nobody can predict the market. You don't even attempt to forecast because nobody can do it. The reality is you can do it. How do you know you can trust me when I say that? One of the things you can do is watch our videos and see if we were accurate or not. You may be thinking, well, maybe Alan can do this, but I don't know if I can. I'm not a mathematician. I don't have that kind of background. I don't know if I have the patience for this. The reality is this is quite simple. It does take focus and it does take commitment. You want to learn it, you can sit down and learn it. So yes, the knowledge is really quite straightforward. It's very profound, but it's very simple. The mathematics is very limited arithmetic. So who am I? My name is Alan Remenick. I'm a mathematician. I've been a math professor in the past and all this. But the last 30 years or so, I've also been a market analyst and forecaster. And I've been providing information to professional traders, to large institutional investment companies, to commodities companies and such. And from this, I know professionals have a huge advantage. They have teams of people helping them. In fact, I am essentially the research and advisory team for them. And the basis of the whole thing is the mathematics is very intriguing to me. And I decided some years ago to look at the markets from the point of view of a more esoteric approach, a kind of more out-of-the-box approach, a little more off-the-wall approach. I was fortunate in the early 80s to start studying things like Elliott wave theory and such, which are very popular. But then I ran into a man who was a master. His name was Jerry Boomerang. Dr. Boomerang was a hugely successful trader, and he was also someone who actually calculated and figured out the true information that W.D. Gann was using back in the early 1900s. That inspired me. I went to 9 seminars that he gave over a 2-year period, and it was a remarkable breakthrough for me in terms of understanding the markets, recognizing that the markets work differently than you think they do, and that you need kind of an out-of-the-box approach to this stuff if you're really going to make money at it consistently, because the truth of the markets is not what they look like. There's a hidden underpinning to the thing. There's a mystery behind it. There's a formula that you need to learn in order to fully understand how to forecast, in order to fully understand what the markets are likely to do going forward, not what they did in the past. And so on that basis, I became familiar with various different systems. I started trading myself, becoming much more successful, utilizing Boomerang's tools and some of the other tools that I learned. I later became familiar with what's called Vedic astrology, which is an ancient form of astrology. And I computer tested numerous theories, actually empirically tested to see what actually works and what doesn't. I didn't just buy in to the belief that this is going to happen when that happens. No. So I have real, honest-to-goodness odds. I know the odds. There are so many cycles in history. There are so many cycles in nature. Some of them are happening right now. And if you can figure out which ones are happening right now, and you find out in the past when they were also happening, what did the market do, you have an advantage. You know the odds that there's an 86% chance the market's going to go down for the next 8 days. Now, people are familiar, for example, with seasonality and seasonal cycles. And the stock market's been around so long, you can get kind of a Bible that tells you on the 22nd day of August, the odds are this and that, this will happen, or from the 14th of August to the 12th of September, there's a probability of 43%. That kind of stuff is useful, but that's based all upon one cycle. It's the yearly cycle, the seasonal cycle, the dates on the calendar. There are other cycles that are not based on the calendar year, they're not based on the position of the sun moving through the seasons, and they are just as powerful, if not more powerful, because nobody knows what they are. So if you learn the statistics around these other cycles and these other seasons, as you might call them, you have an additional set of probabilities that can lead you in the right direction repeatedly. On short-term basis, they can be effective on an intraday basis. They can be effective on a swing trading basis where you're trading for 2 or 3 days or 2 or 3 weeks. They can be effective on a long-term basis. In simple English, the story is that history repeats. And if you can find what part of history is repeating, it will continue into the future. And Michael, who is one of my associates, has become clear on this subject by watching what we've been doing. This is the basis for winning. It's knowing the cycles in the market and knowing how to find which ones are happening now and knowing how to find where in the past that particular combination occurred And once you know where in the past it happened, that combination creates the same type of pattern in the present that it did in the past, and therefore you can anticipate the future. You can project the future. You can create a roadmap for the future. The basis of the whole thing is history does repeat, because these cycles do repeat, but they're not uniformly repeating in a simple way. You need to know where to look. We teach you where to look. This is all about learning how to find which parts of history are repeating presently. This is for people who are really serious about trading, who are interested in becoming better at trading, who have already got some level of experience with the market so they understand what trading is about. Sometimes they've already gone through the ringer in terms of losing before they actually get here. This is for people who are serious about the markets, people who have been doing it for whatever amount of time, and they want to improve their game. This is for people who want to be in a situation where they don't have to experience getting stopped out as much, where they're in the habit of catching big moves instead of getting frightened halfway through a move and getting out early. This is for people who want to understand the mechanics of how markets really work, and who are not going to be as easily thrown off the track by things that are irrelevant to what's actually real in terms of making the markets move. This is for people who are true students of the market and want to make their trading much more successful and not have to go through a huge span of time and 30 years of failure before they learn it. All right? This is not for people who think that you can win in trading by just following the latest rumor or following what you heard on television the last 10 minutes or some supposed expert who says the market's going to go up but he didn't say when. It's for people who understand that there is the requirement for a certain level of discipline, clarity, and knowledge that is absolutely essential to make money. Not to make money once in a while, but to make money regularly. It's not just luck. It's based upon having a systematic, reliable, knowledge-based, tested approach. So some of the results of what we've done is that we have been able to combine the cycles into what are called wave mechanical models, which actually create specific buy and sell points, and they're completely automated. In other words, once you have the cycles down, you create the model, you add the waves together, and you basically go long when more waves are up than down. You go short when more waves are down than up. And we have models that go back all the way to 1900 that are extremely effective and have been. So the good news is this is not a fly-by-night kind of thing. This isn't going to stop working necessarily in 2 years or 1 year after you learn the information. Okay? This model, for example, one of them is 95% winning trades in the last 45 years on the long side and about 75% on the short side. Now think about it. Going short and holding, you're talking about trades that you're in for 3, 4, 6 months. To win on a short trade in the present market, which tends to trend higher and has been for 200 years, it takes quite a bit. And yet these cycles are locating and isolating those points where the market's in danger. You can use the same model if you want to avoid going short, just to get out of long positions. And you end up making a lot more money than you would if you buy and hold. And you have a lot less angst, certainly a lot less losses. You know, the drawdown of the Dow at times in 1929 was 90%, and even last year, and even in 2008, you know, it was like over 50%. The drawdown on this thing is like 10%. Okay, so to make more money with 10% drawdown is a remarkable, achievement. And the same type of models are existing in other markets, in the soybean market, in the gold market, in the crude oil market, in the currencies market. It works on Bitcoin, anything that you want to use. This approach can work on individual equities as well. You pick any equity, you just need a certain amount of data, okay? Something more than 5 years of data, perhaps. And you can create and understand what's likely to be happening in any stock, in any commodity, as long as the data is accurate, obviously. It's Fabulous. Excuse me. I'm very excited about it. So the bottom line of the whole thing is that we have a great deal of successful techniques which we are sharing, which we show you how to do, and which will even, in the process of the learning process, we actually do what I call clinics, and people continue to ask questions, and oftentimes I'll give very specific trade recommendations during those clinics about real-time situations, often week by week. That's kind of a side effect of learning. The main thing is I want you to learn it. I want you to walk away knowing how to do this, okay? You can lean on me for a while, but I want you to be self-sufficient. Now, you might just think this is pattern recognition, which is a popular tool, and there are software programs that allow you to do that. It's not merely pattern recognition. Pattern recognition is interesting, but what you don't know when you look at a particular pattern is if it will continue. In pattern recognition software programs, you can find a number of patterns that look the same as the present. However, if you look at what they say comes next, half of them go up and half of them go down. You don't know which ones are going to continue to be correct going into the future. And the only way you're going to know that is to know if the cycles that are running in that pattern at that time are the same ones that are running in the market right now. That's the secret sauce. Once you know that, then you know which patterns will continue to repeat. So knowing that history repeats provides a significant advantage in your trading. Another thing about this is you really do not need any sophisticated software. Aside from a platform, you need some sort of a way of projecting charts onto a screen and putting some sort of cycles on the chart and maybe having one or two, standard oscillators, MACD and stochastics, a few other things that are absolutely available on every platform. You don't need any other software. You don't need anything that is complicated or difficult or that you have to download or that someone has to go out of his way to change the computer that they're using or whatever. It's really straightforward stuff. Our course is a 3-month program. And this is a comment by one of our students that describes the process for himself during the 3 months that he'd been taking this course. The secret that we discovered is knowing what part of history is repeating in the present. And once you know that, you have a tremendous advantage in your trading because you can create a roadmap of the future, which is likely to be fairly accurate based upon what happened in the past going forward. Most of us have come to this point in our trading career where we've been through the mill, oftentimes winning, sometimes losing. A few of us continue to win more than lose, but actually the probabilities are most people are losing more than they win. We want to change that balance. We want to put you on solid ground. We want to inspire change in your life and allow you to enjoy the benefits of what ultimately can be an extremely gratifying career or profession, or even if you do it part-time. It's something where once you master the markets, you can go in, you can make money when you want, you can go on vacation when you want. Money does not become an issue in your life. And you also have an ability to do it not depending on anyone else. You don't need to go into work, you don't need to be depending on a boss, etc. It's a very gratifying feeling of freedom. The students who have taken this class, who have learned this material, uniformly across the board are saying how it helped them in their trading. In many cases, it helped them to make a tremendous amount of money. So, in order to facilitate this process, your first step, and most important step, is to arrange for a free strategy call with me. And that strategy call will be for the purpose of helping you figure out exactly what you need in your trading, evaluate your trading, evaluate the structure of what you've been doing, and look at it closely. And it's a half hour, 45 minutes, and see if we can figure out a plan that will actually help you. This is literally the most important thing you can do right now. You have a choice. Life can continue as it is. Your trading can continue as it is. You can win, you can lose. Whatever you've been doing, you're probably not going to get any better at it unless you add knowledge. Here's your opportunity. We want you to go for it. A 45-minute phone call with me was the first step. I really, really enjoy teaching new people, and it would be extremely gratifying if I could get to know you, learn about what we can do to help you, and actually create a positive path forward for you to improve your trading and improve your financial status in life. Apply for a call below now. I can't wait to speak to you.